Um, I did that 2 years ago. Michelle yelled at me endlessly. Michelle, that'll be out of context for you because I started recording right when I said that. Anyhow, so she's not gonna be able to make it. She
Okay.
has a million things going on. Anyway, but I'm glad that you're here and that you're taking the time. I have your book. We'll talk about it in a bit here. Thank you for the little drawing you put
Yeah, no
in
problem.
it. And yeah, is there a bio I can read off of somewhere? I saw multiples, but I don't know which one is like the most current.
Um, oh God. Well, let me see if I can email you one real quick. I think I just sent one recently for Noir at the bar.
I mean, there's one here. There's Alex Kenna is a mystery writer, prosecutor, and amateur painter. First novel, yada yada yada.
Yeah, I think the only update is I'm not in Los
You
Angeles.
moved, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm in the Pacific Northwest.
right. We can touch upon that as well. Um, and yeah, it should be like, I don't know, half an hour or so. Once we get rolling, I tend to start babbling, and the guest tends to start babbling, and we have a nice, fun conversation. So, well, there's no time limit unless you have like a hard out or something.
No, I'm fine. Okay. See?
Okay, alrighty. Uh, Very casual intro. This is how the arts were won. Season 4, episode 7. We're rolling through them, author by author. Too many author interviews this year. You'll notice that I am the only one talking because Michelle is sadly not here today. Once again, the loyal listeners, all 32 of you, I'm sure, are stuck with me again, but that's okay because we have a wonderful guest, and her name is Alex. Her name's Alex Kenna, but I have a question about that, and I'm going to get to it as soon as we get things rolling. Alex, lovely to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. So, let me just give you the quick rundown of who Alex is. She is a mystery writer, prosecutor, still a prosecutor, and would you say an amateur painter or a dabbler in the painting arts or a soon to be professional?
Oh, I guess probably a failed non-professional. I went to art school before law school, so I
Perfect.
definitely got the painting bug pretty deeply, but sadly, no one else appreciates it outside of my husband and my family.
Sure. Well, hey, you're trying. It's the
That's what
effort.
counts.
It's
Yeah.
the effort that counts. Well, she has two books out, if I'm not mistaken. What Meets the Eye was her debut, and Burn This Night is her latest. They're both part of the Kate Miles series, set in beautiful Los Angeles, of which she was a former resident until recently, and she has moved to the wilds of what town?
I'm in the Pacific Northwest. Right now we're doing like a month to month in Tacoma and just trying to find a place in the Seattle area to settle.
Oh, why did you move to the area?
Well, we got really tired of evacuating from fires. So
Mm.
we used to live in a beautiful mountain town that was kind of right outside Los Angeles, and we had all this scenery right behind us. But we evacuated from the Bobcat fire in 2020,
Uh-huh.
and then we just had this second, series of terrible fires and then terrible mudslides, and we had more evacuations and. Uh, it was too much. And actually my book, Burn This Night, I wrote it after evacuating the first time, and it starts with a scene where people are fleeing a
Hmm.
wildfire that was had a lot of truth in it. And then,
Yeah.
the book came out, and right after it came out, Los Angeles was burning again, and it was very strange because I was sort of promoting the book while also, you know, fleeing in a car with a 100-pound dog and two small children.
Uh-huh.
So that was somewhat formative. And after that, my husband and I just thought, we should really move somewhere with terrible weather. And we
Yeah.
picked the Seattle region because it's always raining, which is, a negative for some, but it sounded very appealing.
No fires with water. But you moved to a place with more trees.
We did.
Well,
Yeah, that's true.
you never know. Could have a dry summer.
Yeah, they have the occasional wildfire too, but it's a little less apocalyptic.
Yeah, not to be cynical. I'm just instilling fear into wherever location you might
We
choose.
have a giant volcano, so I guess there's that. You never
Right.
know.
There's always an eruption.
Yeah.
Uh, Well, I want to talk about the newest book, which I started, and it's wonderful, by the way.
Thank you.
Um, we've had guests on before, and I've said this before, but it's one of those books that is it's down the middle for the genre, and it's great. It fits into that market perfectly, but it's just a little bit elevated than the typical thriller. It's a little smarter, I feel like.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Unless it gets dumber as the deeper I get, but I have a feeling that's not going to happen.
There you go. It all falls apart in the second half.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
Uh, well, so I'm sure it doesn't. Go buy it. It doesn't fall apart in the second half. Anyway. Uh, so I want to start by you're still a prosecutor, correct? Or
Yeah.
have you transitioned full time to writing?
No, no, I still am. I had been a federal prosecutor in Los Angeles, and now I'm working on the state level.
Yeah. Did that career uh I mean you've been a prosecutor for a while, correct?
Yeah, I was a DA in LA, and then I worked for the state, and then I was a federal prosecutor for a while. So I've it's been a little over a decade. So yeah, that's been my it's definitely influenced the crime writing because
Sure.
I talk to police officers a lot. I've done trials. I'm used to talking to juries. So
Mhm.
I just have that kind of background. And I think just also the experience of talking to people about crime in a and trying to keep them engaged in the trial context kind of bleeds into writing. 'Cause you think about how to present, things that are awful in a way that are engaging, but also not overly
Mhm.
emotionally traumatic to people who are hearing about them when you're dealing with juries.
Right.
And I think some of those similar considerations come into play when you're writing about crime. And you think about you have your set of facts, what information you need to get out, and you think that you have to get that out in as engaging a way as possible when you're talking to a jury. And it's kind of the same thing with crime writing. So, there's definitely a reason I started with bodies instead of romance.
Yes, and being a lawyer, it's all storytelling. I mean, to an extent, it's facts, hopefully, but it's storytelling, and you have to
Ideally.
be a yeah, and you have to be a good writer, and you have to be a good storyteller. I would
I
think,
think you would think, but it is shocking how many bad writers go into the legal profession.
right?
And it's kind of like, 95% of lawyers think that they're great writers and actually suck. And then, in fiction writing, 95% of, fiction writers are actually great but think they suck. It's
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
the opposite, but yeah, certainly with litigation, it's when people are arguing about you have the same set of facts ideally, although some people get a little creative, and then you have to you have to kind of pick and choose which ones tell the story that you're putting out there. So
yeah.
there's definitely an element of that, and some.
I see so many attorneys across the spectrum, and not just in defense or criminal law or anything, just across the board, go into fiction writing inevitably, like thousands probably,
Oh yeah.
especially in this genre, right? We go to different crime mystery thriller conferences. You see a lot of former lawyers, I think.
Mhm.
You never see writers that turn to that turn to the law, though. It never works the opposite way, which is interesting.
Well,
But
actually, I think Megan Lucas just started law school, which is.
oh,
Yeah,
all
I guess
right.
maybe she didn't get the memo that being a lawyer sucks, but
Yeah.
good luck to her. But yeah, it's definitely not the norm that people are exercising their creative muscle and they think, what can I do that would really be soul killing?
Yeah. Doesn't it all suck at the end of the day? Like it's all hard and it's all boy, this is a bleak podcast. Fires and everything's terrible. I mean it's all difficult, but I guess it's there's a certain creative freedom in writing, obviously, that you don't have with
Yeah, I mean, I
other
like
people.
I like the criminal sphere. It's you, especially I think at the state level, you deal with a lot of. That's kind of where the kind of the creative weird people go. I
Yeah.
think where like you do have people who are interested in storytelling. You have people with a real gallows sense of humor. It's
Hmm.
kind of like at mystery conferences, if you go to the cop panel, like there's always,
Yeah.
the police procedural panel, there's always a couple like, salty, grizzled, retired cops who are, telling jokes that half the people are laughing at, and half the people are like, ooh.
Yeah.
You have that kind of sense that if people are dealing in gruesome facts all the time, they develop kind of a really dark sense of humor, and are very talented
Hmm.
inhibitions, and the F-bombs fly. Um,
Sure.
and when you're off the record, it can be kind of a fun environment to be around in.
Along those same lines too, a lot of, I'm sure people in your professions, in this part of the law specifically, have so many stories to tell, and they all probably think like, oh, this would make a great book. Some of them, I'm sure, would, some of them wouldn't. What's kind of that when you make the leap into fiction writing, how much are you looking at like something that might be inspired by a true event? And this might not even be applied to the books that you've currently written, but maybe stuff that you've kind of floated around. Uh, what do you lose and what do you add? Like how do you make the reality more interesting? Or how do you tone it down? I guess maybe in some cases.
Yeah, I think there's you have to do both. I think it's both. I think a lot of times
Hmm.
in the criminal sphere, um, things are so weird that you want to make sure it's still believable. Or,
Hmm.
I guess this wasn't the criminal sphere, but my first book, it takes place in the art world, and I had this insane art professor who was like a clown pervert, and we were learning
I'm
drawing how
sorry.
to.
Go back. A clown pervert?
Yeah, clown pervert. We were learning how to draw on the computer, and he would set the background to like all pornographic clown pictures, and like I'm pretty sure that one of them was like him. And then we would listen to this like
I'm
clown
sorry. Hold on. You're
music.
saying this like it's a normal thing that I should know. A clown pervert.
Like a pervert of clowns, yeah. But I wanted to. Initially I had like full on clown pervert in a scene in that book, and like my husband read it, and he was saying, I know this you actually encountered this freak, but it comes off on the page as really self-indulgent because when it's fiction and people assume that it completely came out of your head, then they're going to think that you're pushing things too much. And if
Right.
you were writing a memoir, you could go full on clown pervert, with the Barnum and Bailey music and the whole nine yards. But in fiction, sometimes you have to pull back a little. So, I think that's that's almost true. I think sometimes in the criminal sphere, sometimes things happen that are, I've had, failed musicians in
Mhm.
Beverly Hills misdemeanor court ask if they can sing the Star Spangled Banner for the court and then bust out into song. And I wouldn't
Right.
necessarily put that in a book because it would feel like it was over the top, even though it's not. So I think
The
sometimes
re
you definitely
the
pull back.
reality is more hyperbolic than the
Yeah,
actual stories.
reality can be
Yeah.
weirder. And I think you also you can't really take an actual case. I mean, you can't ever put in material that's confidential. And even for facts that are kind of out there in the open, it's still I don't think it wouldn't necessarily be fair to the people who are involved in that to turn
Right.
this thing that actually happened to them into fiction. So, I think for drawing from that sphere, it's almost more like character types, little weird details, like I had a case once where this woman had she had like buttless pants. They had like with a
Huh.
cutout. And like she didn't make an appearance, but the buttless pants, they made an appearance. Or they will make an appearance soon. So little details you can take from reality, definitely personality types. My protagonist is definitely inspired in many ways from some very like smart, tough, down to earth female police officers who
Hmm.
encountered over the years. But I don't think you can just kind of pluck a case, even if it has really interesting facts, and then
Right.
change the names and stick it in there, and then you call it fiction.
I'm tempted. By the way, my theory of like it's always 14 minutes into a podcast. I don't know why. It's this exact number, 14 minutes into a podcast when things start to get juicy with every guest I've ever had. And if you go back, I don't know how the timing actually works out in the final edited version. But anyway, I'm very tempted to name this episode The Art of Clown Perverts, and I won't out of respect
There
to
you
the
go.
dignity of you as an author.
I don't want to disappoint anyone who might pick up my book and think that that's going to feature prominently. So
No, the books are a little more grounded than clown perversion, but hey, there's always there's always the future.
yeah.
So uh, speaking, you mentioned your protagonist in these first two books. Um, Again, like from what I've read, what I gleaned so far, in at least Burn This Night, it's more grounded. than the typical like cliche sort of not grounded, but a little bit more original than the typical cliche kind of like she's a hard scrabble small town law enforcement person. Um, when you go into that, is it intentional? Like you want to like create something different, or are you like, let me just kind of build off this current archetype that we've seen a million times and kind of build out from there? Or are you kind of looking inward and saying, what about this character is inherently different from what we've seen?
I don't think I'm really thinking much in terms of what we're seeing. I have
Hmm.
kind of think about ideas that I want to explore, and then I like the mystery format because you have misdirection, you have different characters, you can weave in a lot of different things, and it lets you talk about different things at once.
Hmm.
You don't have, and I think you don't have to just, and I like a lot of content when I'm writing. I love reading books where that are kind of beautifully crafted slow burns with two characters and the dynamics between them, but I wouldn't write that well. I like a lot of things going on.
Hmm.
So for Burn This Night, one of the things I really wanted to talk about is there's a meth epidemic in Los Angeles that's which I mean that part it gets a lot of attention, but the epidemic of brain damage that it's causing really
Oh.
doesn't, which is something that I saw for years. And I knew somebody who had kind of succumbed to that and saw that person deteriorate over the years because the strength of the meth in Los Angeles, because it's just coming over the border, it hasn't been diluted yet, and it's causing massive brain damage very quickly. And
Oh.
I wanted to work that into a story, but it's also you write a whole book about meth brain damage. I mean, people will get depressed and put it down on, page three. So, with the I have one character who's a recurring character and who kind of deteriorates a little bit over the course of the book as he's,
Hmm.
getting into the throes of addiction. And then, with Kate, who my protagonist, who's she's an ex-police officer and she's become a private detective after an accident. And she's trying to regain custody of her daughter. And for her, I was very interested in kind of themes of miscommunication between people who are well-meaning. And she's kind of misaligned with her mother, who's, very traditional and very religious and doesn't believe in divorce. And that neither of them is a bad person, but I wanted to kind of explore this relationship of people who are trying to connect and just can't quite manage.
Hmm.
And I got very interested in this. She discovers early on that the man who raised her isn't her biological father, and I was interested in exploring the this kind of phenomenon of people on 23andMe suddenly learning that they're not who they thought they were, and
Hmm.
and I people suddenly learn, okay, that they have a new son, or that people suddenly learn that they're adopted and their parents never told them, and what is the psychological experience like of that. So I did a lot of research, I listened to a lot of podcasts, so it was kind of more, I had all these different things that I was interested in and thinking about, and then I and the format of mystery lets me kind of be self-indulgent and
Hmm.
weave it all together and throw in different things. And it's okay to have a complicated plot, and it's okay to go off on tangents because people kind of expect it.
Yeah. Speaking of identity issues, I have a question. So, in the book, and on your Zoom right now, Alex McKenna with an I and a Mick.
Yeah,
In the book, it says copyright Alex, but Alex Kenna on the book. I am holding the book. I know it's a podcast, you guys can't see it, but why the change? And I think I know the answer, but go ahead.
I at the time, I think I don't remember if I was still at the DA's office, but I w was thinking about people I've put in jail before, and then going on social media and saying, "Hey, everybody, I'm going to be at Barnes and Noble. You please don't come kill me." So I wanted to just change it a little bit so that I wasn't kind of advertising my whereabouts. Like there's one particular person who who's a little bit off his rocker, and he thinks we're going to go out to lunch when he stops
Oh.
serving time for attacking someone with a meat cleaver. And I
Ah,
didn't want that guy to know that I'm like at a Barnes and Noble. That wouldn't go well.
smart.
So I wanted a little bit of privacy, and I didn't, necessarily want defense attorneys to to Google me and be like, "Oh, look, she's got a little writing habit." It's
Ah, it is
just,
not the answer I thought, actually. I'm like, well, maybe because Alex has an I and she didn't want to correct people.
oh, well, that has been an annoying thing that's plagued me for 40 years, but
The actual answer is the meat cleaver stalker of Southern California. She doesn't want to know that she writes books. All right, makes sense. We can cut that out too, by the way, if you want to make.
It's all good.
Okay,
I
fine.
moved states, so hopefully, please
Yeah.
find me.
Good God. Well, that explains it. Thanks. And the podcast. No, so changing gears slightly. And actually, Michelle, use this as an edit stop point. Do you have is there a noise in the background?
Do you hear something?
Yeah, I do. It's weird. I don't know. Maybe it's you don't hear that.
I don't think so, but
Oh, then I hear it pretty loudly. One sec. Let me like
let me
think.
also just make sure that my I can go double check that my dishwasher's not on or
No,
anything.
no, no. I don't think that way we would pick up something from a different room. This sounds more like a machine going. I mean, oh, hold on. Oh, jeez.
Oh, sorry, I'm just double. Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to double check that the thing was on. Uh,
Sorry, that was me. All right. And we're back. Okay. No, there was a thing that was vibrating and but when I have my headphones in, it amplifies sound by like a billion times. So it was the loudest thing and it was actually the smallest thing. Technical issues. See, if Michelle was here, we wouldn't have technical issues. You can hear me though, right? Everything clear?
yes.
Okay, perfect. Um, Okay, well, that makes sense as far as the name. Let me switch gears to something else, though, because we have a lot of listeners that are emerging authors, up and coming, well, screenwriters that are kind of moving into the publishing world. So I asked this question to everybody, kind of a basic question, but you're lit agent. You've been with that lit agent through both books now?
No, I actually published my first book without an agent.
Oh, okay.
So a lot of some of the small publishers, Crooked Lane included, if they'll take unagented submissions. So I had submitted to a lot of agents. I hadn't heard back, and then I kind of sent it in on a lark,
Uh-huh.
and I got lucky because I think the person who was pulling things from the slush pile that day, was interested in painting, and my first book is
Really?
largely about painting. So if football guy was reading the slush pile that day, I probably never would have had anything.
Right.
But I was lucky enough to find my agent for the second book, and it's definitely a very different experience
Yeah.
when you're represented.
Well, we don't have to get into like what the pros and cons are. I won't put you on the spot on that front. But I would imagine having an agent makes things a little bit more fluid, but probably a little bit more stressful because you're going out to more places and there's just more of a weight to it, perhaps.
Yeah, well, I think I had an option with Crooked Lane, so that it wasn't going out to a lot of different places. But I do think
Right.
that when you don't have an agent, if you get an offer from a publishing house, there's really no leverage because, like, and they know that that this is the option.
Yeah.
So you can say, hey, would you make this contract tweak? And they're like, no. And you're like, okay.
Like, good luck without your agent. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Crooked Link published just the second one too, right?
Yes.
So, do you have a new one that you're going out with?
I do. I'm just kind of tweaking it. It's set in the courthouse where I worked for 3.5 years.
Hmm.
So yeah, that was a lot of what you were talking about earlier about kind of knowing when to borrow from reality. That was definitely an interesting experience. And if you
Yeah.
if you had a list of all my former bosses and you compared it to bad guys, you might know who the killer was. Who knows? Um,
Right.
but yeah, so it's totally different vibe and different characters. So I'm pretty excited
Oh,
about
so
it.
it's not part of the same series then.
No.
Oh, okay, good. Was that sort of scary or freeing? Just kind of detaching yourself because you invest so much into a single book, let alone, a
Yeah.
series.
You know what? I think it was a little bit freeing just to kind of give myself the luxury of setting something somewhere where I knew really well.
Hmm.
And all the little details, and knowing how people talk, knowing the kind of jokes people make. That was kind of liberating because I could kind of focus on other things. I didn't have to do a lot of research. But it wasn't really scary setting off on something different apart just because like right now writing time is such a luxury. I don't have time to freak out because I work and I have two kids under 5.
Mm,
So,
right.
writing is like, going to the library and speed writing for an hour until I have to get home. You know,
Yeah.
I don't have time to kind of freak out and wonder if it's good. I just have to make it happen.
Maybe that's better.
I don't know if it's better, but it's
I think it's better. Let's call it better.
it's like at one point I was at the library and there was a guy behind me who was having some kind of like psychotic attack and then like walking
Uh-huh.
in circles and I probably should have left because it was getting weird, but I just thought, you know what, I'm gonna turn my chair so I can see him. I don't think he's gonna kill me, and I only have 45 minutes, let's go. So
Gosh. You're really riding under the gun here. There could be a clown pervert with a meat cleaver behind you.
yeah, there could be a clown
Like,
pervert with a meat cleaver, and I'm gonna check from time to time to make sure he's not getting too close. But like if someone's watching my kids and I'm at the library and I'm typing, that's gonna happen until there's an earthquake and the walls fall down around me.
oh my God. I think you just hit upon a new writing strategy where it's like writing under terror and duress, where you just put yourself in a position where like anything can happen. You got to pump out the pages as soon as possible.
You know what? Maybe you're onto something. I'm turning this into a
Yeah.
non-writing book, and maybe that'll be my golden ticket.
I come up with only good ideas on podcasts. I don't know why.
I
Really bad idea. Actually, don't do that, writers. It's probably not psychologically healthy. It's better than NaNoWriMo, though. So you use yourself a deadline of some sort, right?
Yeah, that's true. No, don't do NaNoWriMo. Just give yourself 45 minutes of terror and see what
40,
happens.
45 minutes of terror. Um, NaNoWriMo.
Yeah.
NaNoWriMo doesn't exist anymore anyway, so we can come up with our own new one. Uh, okay. Well, for Michelle, I'm trying to make it easy for you to edit, but I lost my train of thought and I have to go to my notes for the first time. I'm sorry. Uh, oh, this is kind of an arts and politics podcast, so this is a little bit more on the not sort of political, but the politics of publishing anyway. What is kind of the this genre is sort of still flourishing, right? I think there's just so many books and mystery, thriller, and crime. It just feels like it's growing to me. And I'm kind of new to the space. Like I started going to conferences a few years ago, and it's such a close-knit community and such a strong community. I think everyone's kind of, flourishing in their own way. But the publishing industry as a whole, what do you see? Where are like the gaps? Where are things that are like this isn't working as great as it could be? Because like in screenwriting, for example, the whole process of querying is so different than the publishing world, where there is still that roadmap. But what is it about publishing that you think could be improved for like the newer writers? Since you were a new writer not that long ago.
Yeah, I mean, I think one frustration that you definitely see, especially going to conferences a lot, is there's a lot of lip service given to inclusivity, and a lot of strides have been made in that direction. But there's also there's not a lot of talk about the issue of opportunities and opportunity disparities when writers have money or don't have money.
Hmm.
And you go to conferences, and there's definitely a visible presence of writers who are retired and comfortable and can afford to you know, travel all over the country, can afford to promote their
Hmm.
books. Writers who are, have a partner who makes a lot of money or who are independently wealthy, and you talk to other writers who are brilliant, and the luxury of going to a voucher con and even meeting
Yeah.
writers is just unthinkable. And I don't really know how you bridge that gap, but um, some people write a book and it hits right off the bat. For most people, it's a slog. And you put out a couple books and you kind of eke by, and hopefully one of them will kind of, be the one that breaks through. And that kind of eke and slog process is a lot more extremely difficult if you don't have the luxury of time, the luxury of money, the luxury of being able to travel. And I
Yeah.
don't really know what the solution to that is, but I think the publishing houses are investing less and less on their own and putting more and more on the writer. And not every writer can spend 20 hours a week self-promoting. And
Hmm.
I think it's a real problem because a lot of people who have an incredible amount of talent are just stuck in conditions where it's going to be impossible or nearly impossible for them to shine.
Yeah, and it's not like that always hasn't been a hurdle to some degree, right? At least
No,
in
of course not.
the
Yeah, but
last 50 years. Yeah.
I think there was less of an emphasis on writers having to do the promotion and doing the sales in the past. I think even especially,
Right.
every conference I go to, there's some version of, the talk by the big name writer, and everybody else goes in the audience and is all excited and waiting for their question, and then somebody kind of raises a timid hand and says, "What advice do you have for new writers just starting out?" And the big name writer is like, "Well, shit, good luck, kid." You know,
Right. That's the
because
same. It's the
it's
same
like
answer I
every
see at every
time.
panel. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's just everybody knows. It used to be write a good book and then a publishing house puts everything behind it.
Hmm.
And I think that sometimes that happens, but more and more it's okay, well, the publishing house will take a chance on a writer, but then the writer has to do everything. And not everybody's in a position where they can, plan themselves a book tour and pay for their own tickets and go everywhere and
Yeah.
and take time even just being on social media all the time or, making the
Time is
perfect
money.
polished
Yeah.
videos.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's a problem.
It is. I don't have a solution either. Um, so once again, it's the bleak episode. No, I think, I think I mean, the solution is kind of like, at least a small part of it is to go into publishing with that, at least that expectation that, you know what, I'm gonna have to invest my own time. I'm gonna have to invest my own money. I'm not saying you have to invest ten to $30,000, but some authors do because they get a PR person or they get the travel costs add up and all that. But it's almost like you have to go, maybe disagree with this, go small, go with a small press first, set your expectations on like not getting 30,000 books sold, right? Just get a book out there and kind of build momentum that way rather than going for the home run right away. Would you, I don't know, what do you think of that sort of like
Well, I think it's,
philosophy?
I think certainly if you got an opportunity with a large press, and there are a lot of benefits that would come from that. At least I imagine.
But that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to promote that book.
No,
Like
it doesn't.
Knopf is not necessarily going to promote your book even though they publish it.
And then with small presses, it's kind of the same. I think small presses sometimes some emphasize their books more than others. Some emphasize
Right.
certain books more than others. There's a lot of moving pieces, but I definitely think going in knowing that you're going to have to be doing a lot of this yourself. A lot of hustling, a lot of, you see people selling their books at farmers markets, and which is
Yeah.
just knowing that you're going to have to make that time and make that effort, even if it's not, naturally your personality is, I think it's just an inevitability.
Yeah. Well, on that note, don't stop writing, people. And it's possible to get published. Lots of publishers out there that will accept unagented submissions. Crooked Lane, I've heard nothing but good things about Crooked Lane. I was at their party in New Orleans at BoucherCon. I wasn't supposed to be there, but I slipped in. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, it's fine. Uh, well, Burn This Night is the latest. What Meets the Eye is your debut. What do you recommend people start with? Does it matter?
Honestly, I wrote them to function as standalones.
Good.
I'm gonna recommend Burn This Night because I need to sell more copies. So start with that one.
Okay. Buy three copies, everybody. And I did buy a copy. You generously made an offer on, I forget now if it was Instagram or X. Buy a copy and she'll include a little sketch using her artistic skills in the book and sign it. And she did. And you sent me the guy at the little stake. Looks like a clown with a cleaver. What is it? No, it's not a clown with a cleaver. She's the, what if she was the murderer? The author was the murderer. That's the twist.
There you go. Yeah, so there you go. If anybody wants a copy with an illustration of a original murder illustration, feel free to hit me up.
You get to pick which murder method that she'll draw to.
Yeah, I'll do your ex, I'll do your boss, whatever.
But see, actually, that in illustration though, that is a creative way just to sell more copies of your book and get people like in the Alex Kenna universe, right?
Oh, for sure. I realized I probably should have put it in asterisk that my drawing skills are kind of subpar because I definitely got some specific requests that were just
Right.
I had to be like, how about if instead he's just holding the knife?
What if
The
it's just a
complicated,
tree? Yeah.
yeah, like the complicated stuff is probably not happening.
I like it. It's minimalist. It's cool. It fits the vibe of the book, it feels like.
There
So
you go. And maybe there's like a 1 in a million chance that it'll be worth something someday. So who knows?
yeah. I'm not gonna sell it, but we keep it as part of my collection. All right, real quick. The next book, what's the one sentence pitch? 8 seconds.
One sentence. Oh God. Um, uh, oh my God, I hate this.
I love putting authors on the spot to pitch
I know,
something.
no, no, no.
Never,
Yeah,
never gets easier.
it's a courthouse noir set in Los Angeles about how corruption and lack of interest in the court system lets people cover up a major crime.
Love it. I'm in. Do you have a title?
Um, well, it was going to be called The Price of Mercy, but unfortunately, some
Ooh.
public defender is putting out a book this year with that same title. So,
Oh, it's a good
um,
title.
yeah, I'm working title now is Anything to Prove It. And I'm sure it'll be changed 50 times before it comes to press.
Anything to prove it?
Yes.
Oh, I like that too. Feels pulpy.
Yeah.
Uh, Alex Kenna or Alex McKenna, depending on who you talk to and what city you're in.
Yeah.
Uh, thank you. This was enlightening. I actually think this is a wonderful conversation, even without Michelle.
Yeah, this has been fun. Thank you for having me.
But Michelle, I love you. Please come back next time. Uh, in the next episode, we're going to have an actual someone, a guest who's actually not an author for once. Nothing against the authors. We've had an author run. It was a big author summer for this podcast. But Alex, thank you. Burn this night. Go buy it wherever you purchase books. Thanks. I don't know how to end podcasts, so I'm ending it right now.